Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made it to episode 597. We don't have any guests tonight, so we're going to have to wing it, but I got some interesting things to talk to you about. And remind you that we always have an open invitation for guests to come on the show. Especially, we'd like to have you come on and tell your cannabis story. As we'd like to say, put the bong down and get up and head out the door and come see us. We definitely need to hear from you so that other people can learn that they're not, that they're normal, you know. Cannabis use is completely normal and beneficial in many ways. So I wanted to start out, probably the first thing is I want to talk about is a good friend of mine, his past, John Walsh. John Walsh is an activist that actually got me started almost 20 years ago. I answered an ad that he had at the U of O and just started a normal chapter. And so I went to the meetings and we decided not to become a normal chapter at that point, and that's when we formed what is today the Cannabis Liberation Front. And but anyway, John was incredible signature gatherer. He lived for the fight. He gave himself selflessly. He lived for gathering signatures and going to meetings, anything political, he was in for it. And he actually he gathered more signatures on volunteer cannabis initiatives than anyone in the state. And that's over many campaigns. And so he was just a real unsung hero that most people never heard of, and yet he was an icon actually to us. And so it's hard to, you know, we've been losing. We lost Jim Gregg and Jim Carr and now John Walsh. And so I guess, as I remember hearing one time, death is part of life, you know. So it's like I heard somebody call in and call a talk show, talk to a psychiatrist. I said, "Well, how long will it take me to get over this grief?" That was and she said, "Well, you never get over it. You'll never get over it. You got to live with it." So that's what we got to do with our friends that pass on. We just have to live with it and remember them and be inspired by them. And so that's John Walsh. And we'll be having a memorial for him. We'll have one here in Eugene and also one in Portland. So I'll be making announcements on this show when we get the time and the location set up. But I really like to hope that people will turn out for that and honor John. And then also our friend Chris is working on some incredible projects. We've got the legislature coming up in session in about a month, I think it is. So we're running out of time, but we've got a chance to make a difference in the laws, the way they are. The legislature has done some pretty nasty things, especially to the medical marijuana program. For one thing, they want to charge growers that anybody that has, I think it's 4 or more, I don't remember the quantity, patients, the state wants to gouge them $200 per patient, you know. So it's just junk fees. All it is junk fees, you know. The state is already making millions, literally millions of dollars off the Oregon medical marijuana program. In other words, taking money out of the pockets of sick people. And they're been making millions since the program was initiated. And now that's just an excuse to get into their pockets even more, and it's really despicable. So anyway, we're working to fight back, and we definitely need some help. And this is what Chris wrote. Medical growers and medical producers familiar with the stances and interests of myself, Dan Kuzer, or our former normal chapter, interested in working on a project, please contact me. Hemp farmers in rural residential areas in the Lane County jurisdiction, or persons owning property in the urban growth boundaries within that same county who are interested in working on next steps, please contact me. recreational producers of concentrates in Lane County. If interested in conversation happening regarding educating local officials on the practices of the industry and independent extractors, please contact me. Clones and seedling exchanges are starting soon. We have an event coming to Lane County soon. There'll be discussions, speakers, food, and shared knowledge. If you're interested in knowing more, contact me. So your contact information is send an email to me, dankbagman@hotmail.com. dankbagman@hotmail.com. And we could, for nothing else, show your honor to John by getting involved in fighting, because this is a fight. When the Measure 91 passed, I had friends that said, well, what are you going to do now? It's legal. You're over. You're done. The work's over, done. And I said, no, no. That was a battle. Measure 91 was a battle. It was a big battle. And we won big. But that was a battle. The war goes on. The Oregon legislature showed that as soon as they went into session after the Measure 91 passed. Despite what Measure 91 said, they started modifying and changing the Oregon medical marijuana plan. So, program. So anyway, the legislatures are both clueless and biased about cannabis, and so we just have to keep continually fighting and fighting back. Even supposedly our friends, our local Floyd Pruzansky, supposed to be our friend, and yet he's voted against us at times. And so anyway, that's the way the politics go. So stay tuned, and we'll be letting you know on what's happening there on the fight. So this first story, in fact, just lately we had mine gone blank. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, Eileen, there you go, Eileen Erdelt. Eileen was on, and she was talking about juicing raw cannabis, and I've come across a couple of articles on that, and so I thought I'd give some more detail on it. I find it really interesting. This is on the healthculture.info website. That's thehealthcure.info. Contrary to popular belief, the marijuana plant is a whole lot more than just a psychoactive drug that stoners use to get high. In raw form, marijuana leaves and buds are actually loaded with a non-psychoactive, anti-toxicant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer nutrient compound known as cannabinoid, CBD, that is proving to be a miracle superfood capable of preventing and reversing a host of chronic illnesses. The old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, could officially be replaced by a cup of juiced cannabis a day keeps the doctors away. Here is just a short list of some of the benefits of juicing raw cannabis. Antitoxicants, increased muscle repair, increased quality of immune system, which will help you fight off illnesses, both severe and basic. You can ingest higher than usual doses of cannabis this way because there will be little or no psychoactive effects. Again, it's a very short list, and much more is still to be learned about juicing and consuming raw cannabis. And that was dated on the 15th of December last year. And that was the healthcure.info. So that's got good info. And then I got another one here. It's a little bit longer, but this was in the High Times, the hightimes.com website. And this is juicing cannabis for health. Wake up to the incredible health benefits of non-psychoactive cannabis in its raw form. Juicing raw cannabis leaves and fresh buds along with other fruits and vegetables will add balance to your lifestyle, protect against diseases, and supplement your diet with essential cannabinoid acids, which is CBD. You won't feel mood-altering effects, making it appropriate for daytime use or for patients who don't desire inebriation. In order to have a psychoactive effect from eating cannabis-infused foods, you must first decarboxylate the cannabinoids by heating or drying the plant material. Fresh live cannabis plants won't get you high because the THC is still in its acidic form, known as THCA. This cannabinoid has antispasmodic and anti-inflammatory benefits and is best used much like a vitamin. Frequent ingestion can be used in treating conditions such as ALS, autism, fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, and neuropathic pain. Popularized in Northern California around 2010 by Dr. William Courtney, cannabis juicing has been credited with extraordinary healing abilities. Personal testimonies abound, but Christian Pesuski's story is one of the most compelling. Plagued by ill health her entire life, Christian suffered from systematic lupus, chronic fatigue syndrome, endometriosis, and intestinal cystitis, leading to a series of painful medical procedures. At one point, her regimen of pharmaceutical drugs left Kristen practically comatose, and after failing to wake for 38 hours, her friends carried her to a hospital. Pesuski noticed feeling relief after using cannabis and was determined to learn more about it. Research led Kristen to believe that the root of her health problems could be endogenous cannabinoid deficiency syndrome, a speculative disorder that Dr. Ethan Russell believes to be related to migraine, fibromyalgia, IBS, and related conditions that display common clinical, biochemical, and pathophysical patterns. If naturally deficient cannabinoid levels could be the underlying cause of the many conditions alleviated by medical marijuana. Using cannabis as a dietary supplement should boost the body's endocannabinoid system and boost and restore homeostasis. Getting the quality of cannabinoids necessary to restore health means pursuing non-psychoactive options, since consuming psychoactive THC consistently can make it difficult to get off the couch. Under Dr. Courtney's care, Kristen began juicing cannabis every day and was eventually able to heal herself and resume a normal life. She was even able to successfully become pregnant and give birth to a healthy daughter, even after countless doctors had said that her endometriosis would make motherhood impossible. She started juicing at home. First, find a juicing machine. There are two main types: masticating juicers, which grind the fibrous leaves, and centrifugal juicers, which send the veggies through a spinning disc that separates the juice from the pulp. You can use either type of machine successfully, although the masticating machines tend to be more efficient for a leafy green like cannabis, since they are designed to making wheatgrass shots. Find juicers easily through the second-hand market, since they are given as gifts and never used. I also like to insert in there Craigslist. Check Craigslist. And also there's a website called Search Tempest. Remember that? SearchTempest.com. It's a search engine for Craigslist. It's very handy, and it searches all the Craigslist in a certain area around you. So I'm going to close down here, and I'm going to bring back and talk some more about this at the second half. So I'll be right back. So don't go away. Welcome back to the second half of episode 597 of the Eugene Cannabis TV show. And I was just going through an article called Juicing for Health. It was on the hightimes.com website. And I was talking about the benefits of juicing cannabis leaves and buds. And this is a recipe that they've included for a healthy cannabis juice. Serves two. Ingredients is 3 pounds of cannabis leaves. So you can use spinach, kale, or chard in place of that if you can't get the cannabis leaves. 4 apples quartered, 4 golden beets quartered, red beet stain, it says here in a note. 3 stalks of celery, a half a cucumber, 2 lemons, and 1 piece of ginger, about as big as your thumb. So roughly chop your vegetables so they will fit easily down the tube of the juicer. Soak and rinse your cannabis leaves to ensure no dust, or bugs are on the surface. Turn the juicer on. Position a catch cup or pitcher in front of the spout and begin to juice. Alternate clumps of cannabis leaves with apples, celery, lemons, or cucumber pieces to keep the fibrous pulp moving through the machine. Empty your catch cup as it fills and skim the foam from your finished juice. Cheers on your good health. So again, that was at the hightimes.com website, and an article on juicing cannabis, as Eileen was telling us about the last time she was here. And this is a story I came across, nothing really pertained to us, but I thought it was interesting. This is down in Medford, Jackson County. This is on the KOIB.com website. Jackson County Community Justice Director is arrested for possession of meth. This is the Medford Area Drug and Gang Enforcement Team announced Thursday morning that they arrested 48-year-old Shane Hagee, Director of Jackson County Community Justice, for unlawful possession of a controlled substance, meth, and resisting arrest. Officials say Hagee was taken into custody at the Purple Parrot in the Medford Shopping Center. Hagee has been cited and released. And then there's an update that came in on same day at 6 in the afternoon. So Hagee is in charge of at least 50 employees, including probation and parole officers and the Juvenile Services Center. His boss is County Administrator Danny Jordan. NBC5 talked to Jordan, but he could not comment on this matter. Jackson County District Attorney said she does not believe the meth charge has anything to do with his work life, and she said the charges were shocking to hear. It's disheartening the type of charges that he's been charged with. She said it will take a few weeks to determine if he will face a grand jury. NBC5 also tried talking to Hagee at his Medford home. He didn't answer the door. Hagee is on administrative leave. So anyway, there's it's one of those law enforcement stories telling law enforcement went bad. It sounds like. Of course, who knows the details? But I don't know what the Purple Parrot is either, so I don't know. Hard telling what. There's probably a lot more to that story than we know. So anyway, and then this is I thought was really interesting. A Portland lawyer compiling a list of every Oregon elected official who voted to ban cannabis. 82 cities and counties in Oregon have banned recreational pot shops from operating. Many will send the bans to voters in November. This is written by Aaron Mesh. It was in the Willamette Weekly, and I got it off the Willamette Weekly, the wweek.com website, dated December 31st. Many Oregonians will get to vote on marijuana in 2016. 82 Oregon cities and counties have banned recreational pot shops from operating. In 36 of those jurisdictions, from Manzanita to Fairview to Lake Oswego, residents will vote on those bans in the November 2016 general election. That's because the Oregon legislature's rules for recreational weed say that in any county where more than 45% of voters approve legal weed, cities and counties must refer local bans to voters. In counties where at least 55% of voters rejected Measure 91, local governments can pass bans without referring them to the ballot. Side note there, that sounds screwy, but that's the way it is. Back to the story, the article. Oregon Liquor Control Commission spokesman Matt Pettinger tells Willamette Weekly that any communities outlawing cannabis shops from here on out must refer their bans to voters. Portland lawyer Bear Wilner Nugent is preparing for even more ballot battles. He's compiling an online database of every local elected official who voted to ban cannabis, along with their next election date and the opponent who garnered the most votes in their last race. Here's the it says, I'm not personally of means to fund a campaign, but I did have enough cash to hire a young reedy to compile the data. Wilner Nugent says, this is putting local officials on notice that their actions are being monitored. So that's on the Willamette Weekly website, and if you want the whole website, you can again send a note to dankbagman@hotmail.com, and I'll send you that link, and you can see the spreadsheet. But I'm going to be definitely downloading that one and keeping track on that, because we definitely need to identify the rats. Turn the light on and watch the rats scurry. And so here we have the High Times Legislative Roundup. And this is from hightimes.com website, written by Mike Adams, dated January 4th. Despite the downtime of the holiday season, cannabis activists have not stopped working to legalize the leaf in more parts of the United States. Some of the biggest news of the week comes from the eastern part of the nation, where lawmakers in Vermont have submitted a measure that could make the state the first in the nation to end prohibition by way of the state legislature. Out west, lawmakers in New Mexico are grinding away at a measure to legalize a full-scale recreational market in 2016. And let's see, Michigan, a bill introduced to protect medical marijuana workers. Representative Sam Sine has introduced a bill that would prohibit employers from firing workers simply because they hold a medical marijuana card. This piece of legislation is in response to cases heard from states like Colorado, where the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of companies terminating employees for participating in programs authorized under state law. Although the bill would not provide blanket protection against termination, employees whose pot consumption interferes with their job performance could still be fired. It would provide protection for those patients caught in situations where their participation in the program was revealed, random drug screens, for example. The bill is scheduled to be brought up when the next legislative session meets later this month. And also in Michigan, the third recreational marijuana initiative to collect signatures. While the majority of Michigan's marijuana legalization efforts have been a MI Legalize, a group working to establish a tax and regulated pot market similar to what is currently underway in Colorado, another group has been cleared to begin its signature collecting campaign. Abrogate Prohibition Michigan is recently cleared by state officials to begin collecting the 315,000 signatures needed to put their ballot measure in front of voters in 2016. Unlike the MI legalization initiative, the APM proposal seeks to establish a cannabis industry for both the medicinal and recreational sector without creating a system of excise taxes or regulations. And then Vermont has a bill that's introduced to legalize recreational marijuana. Senator Jeannie White announced that she would introduce a bill later this month to legalize a recreational marijuana market in the state of Vermont. The bill, which was revealed earlier this week, would allow people 21 or over to begin growing marijuana for personal use by July 2016, with a retail market scheduled to open the following year. Senator White and the rest of the Senate Government Operations Committee have been working all summer to devise a bill with the power to reach final approval. The guts of this legislation come with some restrictions, like marijuana edibles would not be allowed. Retail shops would be permitted to sell only up to an ounce to residents and a quarter ounce to tourists. Yet the state would allow for a number of cannabis cafes, serving weed in a manner similar to how beer is sold at bars. If the bill receives approval in both the Senate and the House, it would be sent to Governor Pete Shumlin for a signature. In Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh decriminalizes marijuana possession. The Pittsburgh City Council recently passed a measure to decriminalize the possession of marijuana in small amounts, and a vote 7-2, an ordinance was passed giving local police the discretion to issue fines up to $100 to anyone caught in possession of up to 30 grams of weed. However, those caught in possession of any amount of weed by a state cop would still face prosecution because marijuana possession remains a criminal offense in the eyes of the state. Governor Tom Wolf has expressed interest in this level of reform for the entire state since being elected, but the issue has not been well received in the state legislature. New Mexico, a bill is filed to legalize recreational marijuana. Representative Bill McClamley has pre-filed a measure aimed at establishing a taxed and regulated cannabis industry in New Mexico. This bill would essentially allow people 21 and over to purchase weed in a manner similar to what is currently underway in Colorado. It would also legalize industrial hemp production across the state. Unfortunately, there does not seem to be much of a chance for McCartney's proposal making it out of the state legislature alive. Republican forces are reportedly already disregarding any measure that has to do with marijuana. Nevertheless, the bill will be discussed, perhaps only briefly, in the upcoming legislative session. And then in Georgia, a lawmaker submits a proposal to expand medical marijuana. Representative Alan Peake has submitted a measure that would establish a cultivation and distribution system for medical marijuana in the state of Georgia. So that's it's going and it's spreading, you know, it's been a long time coming, and it's about time, and it's still not going fast enough for most of us, but still there's still a lot of arrests going on coast to coast over marijuana charges, and as we like to say, nobody should be in jail or caught. It's a plant, you know. So anyway, I'd like to invite people to come on down to the TV studios, the ectv.597.2016-01-06 behind Sheldon High School, Monday night at 7:30. Come on by, drop in and visit, just watch us do the show, come on and be on the show or help with the show. They're all options, and encourage you to do that. So this is DanK, and I'll see you next week. I'll be here. I hope you will.